You know what's fun? Emergency sessions of the Galactic Council. Nothing says good times ahead like watching 300 alien species hyperventilate in unison. Well, the ones that actually breathe, and anyway. Ambassador Crix slithered up to the central podium, his tentacles practically vibrating with panic. The Zephyrian looked like someone had crossed a squid with a lawyer and given it anxiety disorder. Esteemed delegates, he wheezed through his gill slits. We face an unprecedented threat. Oh boy. Here we go. The terror of Sector 7 has awakened. The chamber erupted. Delegates started screeching, chittering, and making sounds I'm pretty sure violated several noise ordinances. The crystalline ambassador actually shattered into worried fragments, which his aide had to sweep up with a dustpan. I leaned back in my chair, watching the chaos unfold. Commander Vex of the Terran Federation, at your service, and professional skeptic of galactic hysteria. Call it a character flaw, but when an entire council loses their collective minds, I tend to ask questions. Crix waved his tentacles for silence. Friends, the beast has already consumed 12 battle fleets. The mighty armada of Zirion, gone. The unstoppable war machine of the Corax Empire, digested like a light snack. What exactly are we dealing with? I called out, earning several disapproving looks from the more diplomatic species. Commander Vex. Crix's voice dripped with condescension. Your species is young. You cannot comprehend the horror we face. This creature has existed since the dawn of civilization, sleeping in the void between galaxies. It feeds on starships, devours entire worlds for breakfast, and uses solar systems as dental floss. Right, sure it does. The beast stretches across continents. Its tentacles can wrap around moons. Its hunger is infinite, its rage eternal. Every species that has encountered it has been consumed. The chamber fell silent except for the nervous clicking of mandibles and the occasional whimper from the more fragile delegates. I propose immediate quarantine of Sector 7, Crix continued. No ship, no probe, no signal shall enter the cursed region. We build a perimeter and pray to whatever gods we worship that the beast returns to its slumber. The vote was unanimous. Well, almost unanimous. Guess who abstained? After the session, I cornered Crix in the hallway. Ambassador, with all due respect, this sounds like a load of space garbage. His gill slits fluttered indignantly. Commander, your species has been part of the Galactic Council for what, 50 years? We have legends spanning millennia about this creature. Legends, I repeated. Not facts. Not sensor readings. Not actual evidence. Just really old scary stories. The evidence is the complete destruction of every fleet that's encountered it. Or, I suggested, maybe there's something in that sector we don't understand. Maybe those fleets encountered something else entirely. Or maybe they're not destroyed at all. Crix's tentacles knotted together in frustration. Your species' arrogance will be your doom, Commander. Mark my words, if you go to Sector 7, you will not return. I smiled. Crix, buddy, you just made this whole thing infinitely more interesting. 6 months later, I was sitting in the briefing room of the FSS Curiosity, watching my hand-picked crew argue about our reconnaissance mission to Sector 7. And by reconnaissance mission, I mean I'd gotten really tired of the Council's dramatic warnings and decided to go poke the bear, metaphorically speaking. Dr. Pip, our xenobiologist, was practically vibrating with nervous energy. The Altarian looked like a cross between a praying mantis and a worried librarian, complete with thick spectacles perched on his compound eyes. Commander, the statistical probability of survival is approximately 0.003%. I calculated it myself. Twice. Your math is wrong, announced Dash, our pilot, while casually balancing a stylus on his nose. The human cocky pilot stereotype was apparently universal, because Dash embodied it perfectly despite being from Rigel Prime. My flying skills alone bump our survival chances up to at least 0.004%. Security Chief Rex slammed a massive fist on the table, making everyone jump. The 8-foot-tall Erskine looked like someone had given a grizzly bear military training in anger management issues. This mission violates 17 safety protocols, 12 common sense guidelines, and my personal rule about not seeking out legendary monsters. Come on, Rex, I said. Where's your sense of adventure? I left it back on Urska Prime, along with my sanity, apparently. Our ship's AI, Logic, chimed in with its perpetually calm voice. Commander, I have compiled extensive data on the terror of Sector 7. Historical records indicate a 99.7% casualty rate for all encounters. See? Pip squeaked. Even Logic agrees this is insane. However, Logic continued, I must note that none of these records contain actual visual confirmation of the creature. All data comes from automated distress beacons and debris analysis. Exactly my point, I said. We're dealing with second-hand information and ghost stories. Rex crossed his arms. Ghost stories that involve very real debris fields and very dead crews. But no bodies, I pointed out. No actual witnesses. Just silence. Ash spun his stylus. So either this thing is the galaxy's most efficient consumer of biological matter, or something else is happening out there, I finished. Something the Council doesn't want to investigate because they're too busy wetting themselves in terror. Pip's antennae twitched nervously. Commander, what if they're right? What if this creature really is unstoppable? Then we'll be the first to get actual sensor readings before it unstops us, I said cheerfully. Think of the scientific value. I am thinking of my continued existence, Pip muttered. Rex stood up, his massive frame blocking the overhead light. Commander, I cannot recommend this course of action. As Security Chief, I must formally protest this mission. Protest noted and filed, I said. Logic, how long until we reach the Sector 7 perimeter? 18 hours at current speed, Commander. Perfect. Plenty of time for everyone to make peace with their life choices. I grinned at my crew's horrified expressions. Look, folks, if this thing is really as dangerous as the Council claims, we'll know pretty quickly. And if it's not, well, we'll be the first to debunk the galaxy's most persistent urban legend. Dash caught his stylus and tucked it behind his ear. Either way, it beats routine patrol duty. That's the spirit, I said. Pip, I want full sensor sweeps the moment we drop out of hyperspace. Rex, battle stations protocol, but keep weapons powered down. I don't want to look threatening. To a creature that eats starships for breakfast? Rex rumbled. Especially to a creature that eats starships for breakfast. Sometimes the best defense is not looking like lunch. Logic's voice carried a hint of what I swear was amusement. Commander, that philosophy is not supported by any military tactical manual in my database. Then we'll write a new one, I said. Assuming we survive long enough. The crew exchanged worried glances, but nobody left the room. Good. Say what you want about my leadership style, but I picked people who were just curious enough to be dangerous. All right, people, I announced, standing up. Get some rest. Tomorrow we either make first contact with the galaxy's most legendary monster, or we prove that sometimes the scariest thing in the universe is our own imagination. Or we get eaten, Pip added helpfully. Or we get eaten, I agreed. But hey, at least it'll be interesting. Dropping out of hyperspace in Sector 7 was like walking into a graveyard. The first thing our sensors picked up was debris, lots of debris. Ship hulls twisted into abstract art, metal fragments drifting in perfect silence, and the occasional intact piece that Logic helpfully identified as formerly part of the Xerian dreadnought terror's bane. Well, Dash said, his usual cockiness notably absent, that's not ominous at all. Pip was hunched over his sensor station, compound eyes wide behind his spectacles. Commander, I'm reading massive energy signatures from the third planet. And by massive, I mean readings that shouldn't be possible according to known physics. Define shouldn't be possible, I said, though I was pretty sure I didn't want to know. The energy output suggests a single organism with a mass approximately equivalent to a small moon. A very angry small moon. Rex was already at his tactical station, massive claws dancing over the controls. Commander, I strongly recommend we leave, now, immediately. Preferably 5 minutes ago. Logic, what's our sensor data telling us? The AI's voice maintained its infuriating calm. Sensors indicate a life form of unprecedented size located on the planet's surface. Preliminary scans suggest a highly complex organism with what appears to be tentacle-based locomotion. Tentacles, I repeated. Of course it has tentacles. Commander, Pip's voice climbed several octaves. It's moving. The main screen lit up with our long-range visual feed. At first, I thought we were looking at a mountain range. Then the mountain range shifted, and I realized we were looking at something that made mountain ranges look like pebbles. The terror of Sector 7 was rising. Tentacles the size of subway trains writhed against the planet's surface. A body that stretched beyond the horizon pulsed with bioluminescent patterns that hurt to look at directly. And somewhere in that mass of alien flesh, sensors detected what logic politely described as approximately 47,000 teeth. Holy cosmic horror, Dash whispered. That thing could use our ship as a toothpick. It's beautiful, Pip breathed, then caught himself. I mean, terrifyingly beautiful. Beautifully terrifying. Oh, who am I kidding? We're all going to die. The creature's attention turned toward us. I know it sounds impossible to tell when something that large is looking at you, but trust me, you know. It's like being studied by a hurricane with malicious intent. Commander Vex's voice was remarkably steady for someone facing down a cosmic horror. Our weapons would be about as effective as spitballs against that thing. Noted. Logic. Start recording everything. If we don't make it back, at least the Council will have actual data instead of ghost stories. We're already recording, Commander. Though I feel compelled to point out that our current survival probability has dropped to 0.001%. Thanks for the pep talk, I muttered, watching the creature begin to move toward us with deceptive grace. Something that large shouldn't be able to move that smoothly. Commander, Dash's voice cracked slightly. Should I fire up the engines for emergency departure? Do it. Do it. Dash's fingers flew over his controls, then stopped. Commander? We have a problem. Let me guess. The engines won't start. The engines won't start. And of course they wouldn't. Because that's how these things always go. The moment you need to run from the cosmic horror, your getaway vehicle decides to take a nap. Vex, please tell me our weapons are still online. Weapons are online, Commander. They're also completely useless, but they're online. The creature was close enough now that we could see individual tentacles writhing through space toward our ship. Each one was easily the size of a city block, covered in what looked suspiciously like suckers lined with those 47,000 teeth logic had mentioned. Well, team, I said, trying to sound more confident than I felt. It's been an honor serving with you. Any last words? I want it on record that I opposed this mission, Vex rumbled. I should have stayed in graduate school, Pip whimpered. I can't believe I'm going to die before finishing my novel, Dash added. You're writing a novel? I asked. It's about a dashing starship pilot who gets eaten by a cosmic horror. How's it end? I was hoping to find out. The largest tentacle reached our ship and, with surprising gentleness, wrapped around our hull. We waited for the crushing grip, the tearing metal, the sudden decompression that would end our brief and questionable lives. Instead, the creature just held us. Like it was examining a curious new toy. Is anyone else getting the feeling? I said slowly. That maybe this thing isn't trying to eat us? Commander, logic interrupted. I'm detecting something unexpected on the planet's surface. More unexpected than a continent-sized tentacle monster? Yes, Commander. I'm reading human life signs. The bridge fell silent except for the hum of life support and the distant sound of Pip hyperventilating. Come again, logic? Multiple human life signs on the planet's surface. Approximately 200 individuals in what appears to be a settlement pattern. I stared at the screen, where the massive creature continued to examine our ship with scientific curiosity rather than culinary interest. Did you just say there are humans down there? Affirmative, Commander. Living humans? Very much alive, based on their biosignatures. In the same location as the galaxy's most terrifying monster? Correct. I looked at my crew. Vex's jaw had dropped open. Pip had stopped hyperventilating and started staring. Dash was frantically scribbling notes for what I assumed was a major plot revision. Well, I said finally, this just got interesting. The creature continued its gentle examination of our ship while we tried to process logic's impossible revelation. Humans. Living, breathing humans. Apparently coexisting with something that could step on continents. Commander, Pip stammered, that can't be right. Humans have never been to Sector 7. It's been quarantined for centuries. Logic doesn't make mistakes, I said, though I was having trouble believing it myself. Show me the settlement. The main screen shifted to surface imagery, zooming in on what looked like a small colony nestled in a valley between two of the creature's massive tentacles. Prefab buildings, solar collectors, what appeared to be a vegetable garden. And yes, definitely human figures moving around like they were going about their daily business. Zoom in on that central area, I ordered. The image resolution sharpened, and we got our first clear look at the impossible. A human figure was sitting cross-legged next to what appeared to be a smaller tentacle, maybe only the size of a bus. The human seemed to be reading something, completely relaxed, while the tentacle curved over them like a protective canopy. Is that human reading a book? Dash asked in disbelief. It appears so, Logic confirmed. Biosignatures indicate a state of complete relaxation. No stress hormones, normal heart rate, patterns consistent with recreational reading. Next to a monster that could level cities? Rex's voice climbed an octave. The creature appears to be in a similarly relaxed state, Logic added helpfully. In fact, based on the positioning and bioelectromagnetic patterns, I would describe their interaction as affectionate. We watched in stunned silence as more humans appeared on screen, going about mundane activities. Someone was hanging laundry. Another person was tending to what looked like a flower garden. A group was playing what might have been volleyball, using one of the creature's smaller appendages as a net. They're not prisoners, I said, more to myself than to the crew. They're not hiding from it. They're just living there. Commander, Pip's voice was barely a whisper. Look at the creature's behavior patterns. I followed his pointing claw to where our sensors were tracking the massive being's vital signs. Where we'd expected to see the aggressive patterns of a predator, the readings showed something entirely different. Logic. Translate those bio-readings into terms we can understand. The creature displays patterns consistent with contentment, protectiveness, and what I can only describe as happiness. Happiness? The neurochemical signatures are remarkably similar to those observed in domestic animals when in the presence of beloved companions. The silence on the bridge was deafening. Finally, Dash spoke up. Are you telling me that the terror of Sector 7, the legendary destroyer of fleets, the cosmic horror that's haunted galactic nightmares for millennia, is basically a giant pet? That would be a crude but not entirely inaccurate assessment, Logic replied. I watched as a human figure approached one of the massive tentacles and appeared to be scratching it. The tentacle's response was unmistakable, even across species lines. It was the universal gesture of, oh yes, right there, that's the spot. Commander, Rex said slowly, if that thing isn't hostile, then what happened to all those fleets? That, I said, is an excellent question. Logic. Review the historical records. Look for patterns in the attack reports. Analyzing Commander, I'm noticing some interesting inconsistencies in the historical data, such as the majority of attacks occurred when ships approached at high speed with weapons charged. The creature's responses appear to have been defensive rather than predatory. And the ships that were consumed? Based on debris patterns and energy signatures, I believe the creature was attempting to investigate these vessels. Given the massive size differential, what the crews interpreted as attacks may have been curiosity. Pip made a strangled sound. You mean the galaxy's most feared monster has been trying to make friends this whole time? It would explain the presence of the human settlement, Logic observed, and why they appear to be thriving rather than being digested. I felt a laugh building in my chest. The entire Galactic Council, 300 species, centuries of terror and quarantine protocols, all because nobody had bothered to consider that maybe the cosmic horror just wanted some company. Commander, Dash said, I think we need to talk to those humans. Agreed. Logic, can you establish communication with the settlement? Attempting to connect. Connection established, Commander. A cheerful human voice filled the bridge. Well, hey there, unfamiliar spacecraft. This is Jake down at New Eden Colony. Why all are the first visitors we've had in, about 6 months. Everything okay up there? I stared at the speaker, then at my crew's stunned faces, then back at the speaker. This is Commander Vex of the Terran Federation ship Curiosity. We're conducting a reconnaissance mission in response to reports of a hostile entity in this sector. Jake's laughter crackled through the comm. Hostile entity? Oh, you mean Fluffy? Yeah, I can see how folks might get the wrong impression. He's a big guy, and he gets excited when new people show up. Sometimes he hugs a little too enthusiastically. Fluffy? Rex repeated faintly. That's what we call him. His real name is about 47 syllables long and includes sounds humans can't make. Want to come down and meet him properly? I promise he's friendlier than he looks. I looked at my crew. Pip was frantically taking notes. Ash was grinning like he'd just discovered the punchline to the universe's longest joke. Rex looked like his worldview was undergoing major structural renovations. Jake, I said carefully, are you telling me the terror of Sector 7 is friendly? Friendly? Shoot. Commander, Fluffy's the sweetest guy you'll ever meet. A bit lonely, though. That's why he got so excited whenever ships showed up. He just wanted to play. The creature holding our ship gave what I can only describe as a gentle squeeze, like a friendly handshake from a mountain-sized entity. Jake, I said, I think we need to have a conversation. Landing on the planet felt surreal. As our shuttle descended through the atmosphere, we got a ground-level view of just how massive Fluffy really was. His body stretched beyond the horizon in every direction, a living landscape of bioluminescent patterns and gently moving tentacles. The human settlement was nestled in what appeared to be a natural valley formed by his coiled appendages. Jake was waiting for us at the landing pad, which turned out to be a flattened area where one of Fluffy's smaller tentacles had obligingly created a level surface. He looked exactly like what you'd expect from someone who'd decided to homestead next to a cosmic horror, completely relaxed, wearing well-worn coveralls, and sporting a smile that suggested he found the entire universe mildly amusing. Welcome to New Eden, he said, extending a calloused hand as we disembarked. Hope the landing wasn't too bumpy. Fluffy's still learning how to make good landing pads. Rex looked around nervously, his hand resting on his sidearm. Mr. Jake, are you aware that you're living on what the Galactic Council considers the most dangerous entity in known space? Jake chuckled. Oh, sure. We get the occasional patrol ship that spots us from long range and hightails it back to warn everybody. Poor Fluffy got his feelings hurt the first few times. Now he just watches them leave and sighs. You can hear it from orbit when he's really disappointed. How did you end up here? I asked, still trying to process the normalcy of the situation. Well, that's a bit of a story. See, we were originally a deep space research expedition studying gravitational anomalies. Our ship had engine trouble, and we ended up stranded here about 3 years ago. Fluffy found us pretty quickly. And he didn't eat you? Eat us? Good Lord, no. He was curious, sure, but mostly he seemed lonely. You ever seen a creature the size of a small continent look sad? It's heartbreaking. As if summoned by the conversation, a massive tentacle descended from above, moving with surprising delicacy. It approached Jake slowly, almost hesitantly, before gently nudging his shoulder. Hey there, big guy, Jake said, reaching up to pat the appendage. These are the visitors I told you about. They're friendly. The tentacle turned toward us, and I found myself looking into an eye the size of a swimming pool. There was intelligence there, ancient and vast, but also something unmistakably gentle. He says hello, Jake translated. Well, actually he says something closer to greetings, small warm creatures, I hope you will stay, and Zabel. Be friends because existence is lonely when you are the only one of your kind in the observable universe, but hello works too. Kip, who had been frantically scanning everything with his portable sensors, looked up in amazement. Commander, this creature's neurological complexity is off the charts. The brain structure suggests intelligence levels that make most council species look like houseplants. That's Fluffy for you, Jake said proudly. Smartest guy I've ever met. He knows 17 different programming languages, can calculate hyperspace jumps in his head, and makes a mean suffle. The cosmic horror cooks? Dash asked weakly. Some of his smaller appendages have incredible fine motor control. You should see him work with pastry dough. Before anyone could respond to that particular image, we were interrupted by approaching voices. A group of humans was walking toward us, and they weren't alone. Floating beside them was what appeared to be a small star, crackling with contained nuclear fusion. "Oh, that's Maria and her pet," Jake said casually. "She found him drifting in space about 6 months ago. Poor little guy was all alone after his solar system got decommissioned by a cosmic engineering project." "That's a star," Rex said flatly. "She has a pet star. His name is Sunny. He's house-trained and everything." The group reached us, and Maria, a middle-aged woman with grease-stained coveralls, waved cheerfully. "Hey Jake, are these the visitors Fluffy was so excited about?" "Sure are. Maria, meet Commander Vex and his crew from the Terran Federation." "Pleasure to meet you," Maria said, while her pet star bobbed happily beside her. "Hope you don't mind Sunny. He gets nervous around strangers, but he's harmless." "Well, mostly harmless. We had a minor incident with some solar flares last week, but he's learning." "Maria," I said carefully, "that's a Class G star. Class G2, actually. Very well behaved for his type. We've been working on his impulse control." Behind Maria, I noticed more humans with more impossible companions. A man was walking what appeared to be a small black hole on a leash made of woven space-time. A woman was playing fetch with something that looked suspiciously like a reality-warping entity from the nth dimension. A group of children were running around with creatures that I'm pretty sure existed in 17 dimensions simultaneously. "Jake," I said, "what exactly is going on here?" "Well, after we settled in with Fluffy, word kind of got around. Turns out the universe is full of really powerful, really lonely creatures that just need some companionship. So we started taking them in. You're running a shelter, I realized, for cosmic horrors. We prefer misunderstood entities. But yeah, basically. The Galactic Council keeps classifying them as threats instead of individuals with emotional needs." Pip was staring at a creature that appeared to be a living mathematical equation. "This violates so many laws of physics that I don't know where to start." "Oh, that's Newton," Jake said. "He's actually a sentient physics law that got tired of being abstract and decided to experience reality firsthand. Lovely personality, though he tends to correct our math." "Commander," Rex said slowly, "I think I'm beginning to understand what happened to all those missing fleets." "They weren't destroyed," I said, "the pieces falling into place. They were recruited." Jake nodded. "Some of the crews decided to stay and help out. Turns out caring for universe-level entities is pretty rewarding work. Plus the job security is incredible. And the ships that fled, well, Fluffy and the others would try to follow them to say goodbye, but..." Jake shrugged. "When something the size of a moon waves at you enthusiastically, it can be misinterpreted as an attack." I looked around at the impossible scene, humans casually interacting with creatures that should have been legends, cosmic forces playing games, and entities that could reshape reality helping with the gardening. "Jake," I said, "the Galactic Council is never going to believe this." "Oh, we know. That's why we've been keeping a low profile. But maybe it's time for that to change." Fluffy's massive eye focused on me, and I could swear I saw something that looked like hope. "Commander," Pip whispered, "I think we're about to rewrite every xenobiology textbook in the galaxy." Among other things, I agreed, watching a reality-warping entity enthusiastically chase a ball of compressed time. "So," Jake said, "want the full tour?" "Fair warning, though. Once you meet everyone, leaving gets a lot harder. They all get pretty attached to visitors." I looked at my crew, saw the wonder and curiosity in their faces, and made a decision that would change everything. "Lead the way, Jake. I think it's time the galaxy learned the truth about monsters." The return journey to the Galactic Council chambers was the longest 3 days of my life. Not because of the travel time, but because I spent every waking moment trying to figure out how to explain what we'd witnessed without sounding completely insane. "Commander," Logic said during one of my many pacing sessions, "might I suggest simply presenting the recorded evidence and allowing the Council to draw their own conclusions?" "Logic, we have footage of humans playing volleyball with tentacles the size of subway cars, and a pet star that does tricks for treats. The conclusions they're going to draw involve questioning our sanity. Perhaps," Rex rumbled from his station, "we should ease them into it gradually." How do you gradually ease someone into the concept that the galaxy's most feared creatures are actually cosmic therapy pets? Very carefully, Pip suggested. The emergency council session was even more chaotic than the last one. Ambassador Crix practically launched himself at the podium when he saw us enter. Commander Vex, he gasped, you survived. How is this possible? What did you find? I took a deep breath. Ambassadors, what we discovered in Sector 7 will fundamentally change our understanding of several key concepts. First, the nature of the entity you call the terror of Sector 7. Second, the fate of the missing fleets. And third, humanity's apparently unique approach to interspecies diplomacy. Get to the point, snapped the Coraxian delegate. What is the creature's weakness? How do we destroy it? We don't, I said simply. Because it's not a threat. The chamber erupted in the predictable chaos, delegates screeching, chittering, and in one case, exploding into angry spores. I waited for the noise to die down before continuing. The entity you've classified as the terror of Sector 7 is indeed massive, powerful, and potentially dangerous. It's also intelligent, emotional, and desperately lonely. For centuries, it's been trying to make contact with other species, and every time it approaches, we classify it as an attack and flee. Preposterous, Crick sputtered. The creature destroyed entire fleets. No, Ambassador. The creature was attempting to initiate contact with those fleets. Unfortunately, when something the size of a small moon tries to say hello, the greeting can be misinterpreted. Commander, the Altarian representative spoke up. You're suggesting this creature is friendly? I'm not suggesting it. I'm stating it as fact. Logic. Display the settlement footage. The main screen lit up with images from New Eden Colony. The council watched in stunned silence as humans went about their daily lives alongside the massive entity they'd spent centuries fearing. What you're seeing, I continued, is a human settlement that has coexisted peacefully with the creature for 3 years. The humans call him Fluffy. Fluffy? Several delegates repeated in various tones of disbelief. His actual name is approximately 47 syllables long and includes harmonic frequencies most species can't produce. Fluffy seemed easier. The crystalline delegate, who had been carefully reconstructed since the last meeting, chimed in with a sound like breaking glass. Commander, are you saying the humans have domesticated this creature? Not domesticated. Befriended. There's a significant difference. Fluffy chooses to interact with humans because they treat him with kindness and respect rather than fear and hostility. This is impossible, Crix declared. The terror has existed for millennia. It cannot simply be friendly. Ambassador, when was the last time anyone actually tried talking to it instead of shooting at it? The silence that followed was answer enough. Furthermore, I continued, Fluffy isn't the only misunderstood entity humans have encountered. They've established relationships with several dozen beings previously classified as cosmic threats. Several dozen? The Zephyrian observer's tentacles went rigid with shock. Reality-warping entities, sentient stars, living mathematical concepts, creatures from parallel dimensions. All of them living peacefully alongside humans who saw beings in need of companionship rather than monsters to be feared. Commander, the council speaker's voice was carefully controlled. What are you proposing? I'm proposing we reconsider our entire approach to unknown entities. Instead of assuming hostility, maybe we should try assuming intelligence and emotional complexity. Instead of building weapons, maybe we should try building relationships. And if you're wrong, Crix demanded, if these creatures turn hostile, then we'll deal with that situation if and when it arises. But based on current evidence, our defensive stance has been creating the very hostility we've been trying to prevent. The chamber fell silent as delegates processed this information. Finally, the council speaker asked the question I'd been dreading. Commander, what is your recommendation for future contact protocols? I took another deep breath. I recommend establishing a new diplomatic corps specifically trained in first contact with powerful entities. And I recommend putting humans in charge of it. Humans? Crix's voice climbed several octaves. Why humans? Because, Ambassador, humans have a gift for making friends with things that should probably eat them. We call it aggressive friendliness, and apparently it works on cosmic horrors. This is madness, the Coraxian delegate growled. This is progress, I countered. For the first time in galactic history, we have proof that peaceful coexistence is possible with entities we previously considered existential threats. Commander, Logic's voice came through my comm unit. I'm receiving a transmission from New Eden Colony. Put it through. Jake's cheerful voice filled the chamber. Hey, Commander Vex, hope the council meeting's going well. Just wanted to let you know that Fluffy and the others have been following the proceedings through your ship's communication array. They'd like to formally request membership in the Galactic Council. The silence in the chamber was profound. Also, Jake continued, they've nominated Fluffy as their representative. He's been practicing his acceptance speech. It's only about 6 hours long, which is pretty concise for him. I looked around at the stunned faces of the council members and couldn't help but grin. Ambassadors, I said, I think we're going to need a bigger chamber. 6 months later, the Galactic Council had been restructured, expanded, and equipped with translation equipment capable of handling 47-syllable names with harmonic components. The new chambers were roughly the size of a small asteroid, which was necessary to accommodate representatives who existed partially in 11 dimensions. Ambassador Fluffy's inaugural address had been a resounding success, though it did require 3 bathroom breaks and a catered lunch. His proposal for the Cosmic Friendship Initiative passed unanimously, though that might have been because nobody wanted to argue with something that could accidentally sneeze a solar system out of existence. The Human Diplomatic Corps, as it came to be known, had successfully established peaceful contact with 47 previously hostile entities. Their methods remained unconventional. Last week's report mentioned something about teaching a living nebula to play charades, and yesterday I received a requisition for 17 tons of cosmic-grade belly rub equipment. I was reviewing their latest mission report when Logic approached my desk. Commander, we've received another distress signal from the Outer Rim. Unknown entity, possibly hostile, has been spotted near the Balerian trade routes. I looked up from the report about the nebula, which had apparently won the charades tournament. Have we contacted the Human Diplomatic Corps? Already dispatched, sir. Captain Martinez is leading the mission. His preliminary report suggests the entity might be lonely and in need of a friend. Of course it is. I signed off on the nebula report and reached for my coffee. Any requests for unusual supplies? 17,000 gallons of premium hot chocolate and a cosmic-sized teddy bear. I paused with my coffee halfway to my lips. Logic. Sometimes I wonder if the universe has completely lost its mind. Sir, I believe the universe has simply revealed that it was always more interesting than we assumed. We just needed humans to help us notice. Through the viewport, I could see Ambassador Fluffy gracefully swimming through space toward the council chambers, his bioluminescent pattern spelling out what the translation computers informed me was "Good morning, friends," in his native language. A year ago, that sight would have sent the entire galaxy into panic. Now, junior delegates waved back. You know what, Logic? I settled back in my chair and watched a reality-warping entity play fetch with a comet. I think I'm starting to like this new galactic order. Sir, Captain Martinez is reporting that the entity in the Balerian system has accepted their offer of friendship. Apparently, it's been trying to give away free energy for centuries, but everyone kept running away. Of course they did. I raised my coffee in a toast to the viewport. Here's to aggressive friendliness and the humans who taught us that sometimes the scariest monsters just need a hug. Commander, Logic added with what I could swear was amusement in his voice, Captain Martinez is also requesting authorization to organize a galaxy-wide potluck dinner. He believes it would help with interspecies relations. I looked at my AAI companion, then at the peaceful chaos of cosmic entities playing together outside my window, and couldn't help but laugh. Approved, Logic. Just make sure someone warns the catering department that some of our guests eat dark matter. Already done, sir. They're surprisingly well prepared for such requests these days. And that, I realized, pretty much summed up the new galactic order. Surprising, impossible, occasionally terrifying, but somehow working better than anything we'd tried before. All because humans decided that making friends was more interesting than making enemies. Who would have thought?